Resistance bands versus free weights. Today, we are going to help you answer the question of which exercise equipment is the best for yourself. There is a lot of confusion out there on the internet, so I'm going to hopefully give you the best guidance so you know exactly what you need to use either at the gym or if you are trying to buy some home gym equipment for yourself, you will know exactly which piece of equipment that you need to get for yourself. So go ahead and give this video a like, subscribe to the channel. We help individuals with all abilities inside the gym become healthier in life and of course improve their overall knowledge of the gym as well. Let's go ahead and dive right into this topic. So before we actually begin looking at the two different variations of resistance bands versus free weights, I just wanted to let you know I'm putting my recommended products for my favorite adjustable dumbbell resistance free weights and of course some resistance bands I also recommend down in the description, so you can check those out for yourself if at the end of this video you decide you want to either buy some free weights or resistance bands. I put my favorite ones down below, but let's go ahead and actually look at the comparison. So for this one, we are going to start with resistance bands. Now, there's a lot of different variations of resistance bands out there, and you can see on this picture I have up on the screen, this one actually has handles, or no handles I should say. Some of them have handles that have different varying ones you can attach to it. This one's just a straight up loop band. I'm gonna link both of them down below so you can check those out, but let's actually look at some pros and cons of if you should really get one of these. So resistance bands, let's look at some of the pros first. So one of the great things about resistance bands is that they are so cheap. So last time I went to Dick's and maybe it was Amazon, I was purchasing some of these. They were about $40 for a set of 4 resistance bands, which might not seem like a lot, but the resistance is very wide and it covers a lot of large bases. So the amount of resistance and exercise opportunity you get from that is incredibly good, because a lot of times free weights are very expensive when you're first starting out. So resistance bands are incredibly cheap. So if you're a beginner just starting out, again, that might be a really good option for you. Resistance bands are also very easily transportable. So if you're out going to a hotel, maybe you're just going on vacation, maybe you're just going out of town for a day or something and you're crashing at a friend's house and you want to get a good workout in, well, you can add in some resistance bands into your cab of your car. You can toss them in your backpack, your duffel bag, etc. Super easily transportable. You can literally bring them anywhere. That's one of the best things in addition to them being cheap. We have a lot more good reasons in a second here. So another good reason that resistance bands are great is that they come in multiple resistance levels. You can find resistance bands that will be so light that it almost feels like you're doing nothing. A lot of people use these types of resistance bands when they are going to physical therapy or have just come out of physical therapy. You'll probably notice the really light stretch bands. On top of that, there's also incredibly difficult ones that feel so hard, it's almost like pulling a rubber tire. So lots of different varying resistances. In addition to that, they're easily storable. So if you have resistance bands at home, they don't really take up a lot of space. They can be easily just tossed in a corner. I actually have a bunch of my resistance bands in just kind of a little box in my basement, in my home gym, and they set pretty well there. I can fit a bunch in there and they don't really take up a lot of space, so easily storable. Kind of goes in line with transportable as well. And then another thing too, they also keep constant tension on the muscle. So when you're actually doing some resistance band curls, for example, anytime you pull the band at all, it's applying tension to the band. So the second you keep pulling up, there's band tension the entire way. Versus free weights, sometimes you get to a point where if I'm holding it like this, there's not a lot of tension on the muscle. It's kind of like a passive load. So one of the good things about resistance bands, there's always a constant tension on the muscle. So if you like that feeling when you're working out, could be an option for you. But we do have some cons, of course. One of the big ones is that they can break. I've had this happen before when I've been teaching exercise classes, where basically it starts fraying, and over time it can fray so much that it'll literally snap. So that's a huge issue, kind of a dangerous issue as well. If you think about if the resistance band is really, really heavy, that could snap and hurt somebody. So definitely consideration there. You're kind of limited on exercises if you don't have any places to attach the band or tie it onto. This is simply because there's only really a few ways to maybe do some curls, do some side lateral raises. There's not a whole lot of exercises you can do versus free weights, as we'll discuss. There's quite a few different exercises you can do. So sort of limited on exercises, especially if you don't have like a pull-up bar to attach the band to, or you don't have like a sturdy door handle to attach the band to. Sort of limited on exercises and what you can do. Also probably one of the biggest problems with resistance bands is that they're usually too easy. A lot of people, when they are using resistance bands, they are using those physical therapy ones we talked about earlier that just really have zero tension. They just don't offer your muscles really much of a demand at all, so they're not going to get that much better. You'll have to do loads of repetitions, 100 plus sometimes with those really light resistance bands, to actually get a good workout and something that's going to give you some stimulus. So just something to consider. Make sure you're getting a resistance band that is of high quality and the fact that it won't rip, but also too that it's heavy enough for you that it actually gives you some a little bang for your buck, right? So that's resistance bands. You can kind of decide for yourself on that one. I think resistance bands are great. But another great option that you might be interested in getting as well is some free weights. Now, free weights come in a lot of different shapes and sizes. Some are dumbbells, some are barbells. The ones that I'm recommending down in the description, once again, are those adjustable dumbbells. They're actually an adjustable setup to 24 pounds. They go from, I think, 3 pounds, 6 pounds, 9 pounds, all the way up in 3 pound increments to 24. Some really, really great options for you to get your workout in. But of course, let's just look at breaking this down a little bit. So some pros for the free weights. There are, of course, some good things. Most gyms have them. So anytime you go to a Planet Fitness, 24-hour fitness, any type of kind of commercial gym, gyms have free weights. There's usually going to be some barbells. There's going to be usually a rack of dumbbells. So very easily accessible. And that's a great thing, because when you're talking about getting the most high quality workout in, you want to have something that's accessible for you, and you want to be able to do that exercise consistently so you can kind of track the progress. So if you're going to the same gym every time, likely they're going to have dumbbells, making it really easy for you to work out. Speaking of easiness too, they're also easily to progress and track progress. So when you are doing a workout and say you are lifting with 5 pounds, you know that that is 5 total pounds. And the next day you can build off that and maybe try to do 5 pounds, but add a couple more repetitions, or do 10 pounds and maybe a couple less repetitions. So free weights make it incredibly easier to overall track the amount of weight. Resistance bands, on the other hand, you don't really know what weight you're actually lifting, because the band kind of wears down over time and you're kind of always lifting a different weight, especially, you know, if one day you decide to, when you're stepping on the band, have your feet a little bit wider, a little bit more narrow. That's always going to change band resistance. Weight is always weight. Pounds are always pounds, unless, of course, you're lifting on the moon, which, of course, in that case, I can't really help you with that. There's also a very large exercise selection with free weights and dumbbells, barbells, etc. There are so many different exercises you can do. You can do a bunch of different overhead press variations, bench press variations, squatting variations, dumbbell, deadlift variations, so many other things, lunges too. There are literally infinite amount of exercises you can do with dumbbells. I'm actually going to link down in the pinned comment a great exercise routine that you can do with just a single dumbbell as well, if you did want to check that out for yourself. Another great thing about free weights in general is that they work the stabilizing muscles quite a bit more. So with bands, you don't really get a lot of like shakiness when you are doing a lift, versus if you're doing a dumbbell overhead press, you'll probably notice it's going to shake quite a bit in your shoulder and in your hands. And those are all those little tiny stabilizing muscles that are getting worked from having the weight go all the way to the side, all the way inward. And that's a really good option For you, if you're trying to get the most bang for your buck, get the most muscular development, you want those stabilizing muscles worked as well. This is kind of an issue with machines. So if you're always using machines in the gym and you're not using free weights, you're not going to be using stabilizing muscles. But of course, there are some issues with using free weights. Some of the cons: they're sort of expensive if buying on your own. The ones I recommend down in the description, I think, are about $200 for that adjustable pair, which is really, really great when you're looking at the overall price per pound. But unfortunately, as a starting point, that might not be very accessible versus somebody spending maybe 20 to 30 bucks on some resistance bands. Kind of a plus and minus. They can be dangerous too if you don't know how to use them properly. So this is why having a certified coach or having somebody who can show you how to use the dumbbells and free weights in the gym is incredibly crucial and can allow you to use them safely, because there are numerous stories of people who have gone to the gym, have dropped a weight either on their throat, on their chest, and really hurt and injured themselves. So if you haven't been lifting for a long time, those free weights can be a little bit dangerous. And probably one of the things that, again, this isn't the biggest issue, but they're not as transportable as resistance bands. I actually have transported my adjustable dumbbells before, and I've used them on vacation. The thing is, they're transportable, they're just very heavy. So they take up about as much as the same space as maybe some resistance bands, but they're just a pain in the butt to move. If you have a 25-pound weight, the ones I was using at the time were 50 pounds, so very hard to transport and use, and ultimately made it really challenging to just use overall. So those are kind of the differences between the two. Again, if you wanted to check out the link in the description down below for the recommended free weights and resistance bands, you can check those out. Like the video, subscribe to the channel. Thanks for watching this. And again, I'm going to link a video right here giving you a few great single dumbbell exercises that you can do all from the comfort of your own home once you grab those adjustable dumbbells. Thanks so much for watching. We'll see you next time.